Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these type of videos, if you guys will click like down below to offset those dislikes, it would be greatly appreciated. And don't forget to click that subscribe button and to click the little bell next to it so that you get the notifications. Ring my bell, baby. So, on to the point. A subscriber has awared me that Aaron, aka Alpha M, has made a video saying he's got 10 exercises you should never do. Now, Aaron's one of these guys that I used to give him a hard time, but he's actually gotten a little bit better over the last year. In fact, he's actually made some pretty decent videos about training. And a lot of that comes from the fact that he comes from obviously a very different training background than me. But we will also put in perspective that his channel is not an actual workout channel, lifting channel, fitness channel. It's generally a fashion channel and a lifestyle type channel who he happens to throw in stuff about training. So I always got to put that in perspective. It's not like his main niche is fitness or lifting or strength conditioning. So, I mean, it's pretty reasonable that he does what he does. So I'll always cut him some slack for that. So we come over to the point. He actually made a decent video, although I will throw in the caveat that he tried to say, oh, I've also got another video with the 10 supplements I recommend. It's like, I can't even think of 10 supplements that work, okay? And I'm telling you guys as someone who is full-time in the fitness world, full-time into this, as an actual advanced master's athlete, there aren't 10 supplements on the face of the earth that even work, let alone 10 that you would actually recommend. I take like 2. So, over to the point of this. He had 10 exercises he thinks men should never do. His list was mostly good, mostly well thought out. I'm going to disagree with some of it. And the reason I'm going to disagree with it is because this is a strength and conditioning channel, right? This is what I do. I'm not interested in the average casual gym goer who would be happy with a 185-pound bench for a couple reps, right? If you are a grown man and you'd be happy with a 220 squat to depth for a triple, this might not be the right channel for you. Like, I don't want my viewers to be satisfied with something like that. That's stuff that you should be hitting within your first few months in the gym. Those are not serious training goals. So, he mentioned some exercises, and one of the ones that I thought was interesting right up front has to do with behind the neck pressing. And the reason I say that's interesting is because heavy behind the neck pressing is a staple for serious athletes and a lot of strength and conditioning programs. And that's going to come as a shock to a lot of you because it is a dangerous exercise. It is a counter-indicated exercise. Yet there's scholarship football players at D1 schools doing them all the time with really heavy weights. There are elite powerlifters who are at the world record level and world-class level who do them all the time with 300 plus pounds. And they go all the way down. So it's kind of, people will say, well, I don't understand, what's the point? Well, let's come over to the point. If you have a high degree of body awareness and you have great mobility, you can do them, but here's going to be the caveat. If you can't touch your traps on every rep with the weight you're using, and you can't do so without any discomfort, this is not the right exercise for you. I think that's the best way to look at it. In other words, the guys who do them really heavy, they all have something in common. They usually push press them, meaning they put it onto their traps. So if you guys think about, what do I mean? Do you know where your bar touches when you squat? That's where the bar should touch on the behind the neck press. If you can't do that comfortably with a really heavy weight and hold it there, and then, drive it up with your legs and push press, you probably shouldn't be doing this exercise. You shouldn't even consider it anything else. If that is discomforting, if that is uncomfortable for you, to drop that bar to where you put a squat bar and hold it there, you don't need to be doing this exercise. But let's come over to that as well. We put a squat bar there all the time and support it in our hands. The question is, can you drive a lighter weight off of it? And I'm going to say for most people, the risk probably outweigh the benefits. Right? It's a high risk exercise, and the majority of you find something better. If you're looking for just general strength, or you're an older guy, let's say you're over about 35, there's no need for it. Do a press in the front with a barbell. Most of the benefits you're trying to get from it, you could get by just learning to do a layback press, where you lay back and then press and then drive forward, right? You'll get the benefits you're wanting out of the behind the neck press. Some athletes, particularly with the push press, can benefit from it, but again, for the majority of you out there, probably not worth it. One of the other ones he mentioned was the bench dips. He called them tricep dips. I call those bench dips. Yeah, realistically, they're kind of silly. They're done when there's a low equipment environment. I messed with them for a short time when I was really younger, but when it got to the point where you're having people stack 6 plates. I didn't do 10. Like 6 plates on your lap and you're doing reps with that, at a point it just gets ridiculous. It puts your shoulders in a compromised position. Just do a normal weighted dip. Right, just go over to a pair of dipping bars. You can find dipping bars. They're a staple in most gyms. Even if you have a home gym like I do, you can get bars that attach to your rack. Usually I have a pair. I use them. You don't need this exercise. Again, it does compromise the shoulder potentially. It doesn't bring anything special to the table. You can't get out of a closed grip bench press or a normal dip or anything else. Another big one was the behind the neck lat pull down. Completely stupid exercise. Like literally stupid, pointless. There's no reason to ever do this. The reason it even got brought about was because many people who do calisthenics training are unaware of the fact that they can add weight. Right? Because they're always used to body weight exercises, and in a lot of circles that's all they had. Prisons, certain places in very, very poor areas, to where they do a lot of calisthenic work because that's all they have. They have a bar they can hang off of. And what they find is that if you do lots and lots of pull-ups, particularly if you're lean, particularly if you don't train your legs so your overall body weight's lower, and you get really strong at pull-ups, you get to a point to where doing 10, 12 pull-ups isn't a challenge anymore. I'm talking overhand grip pull-ups. And so in order to make it harder, a lot of the times people will start doing them behind the neck because that's more difficult. But there's no benefit to it other than it's harder, and it adds a different resistance curve, and therefore it's more challenging for someone who just does so many body weight ones. Once we get to the point, though, to where you can add plates, you can hang something around your waist, you can put a backpack on, you can add weight, it becomes silly because it does compromise the shoulder, and doing it on a lat pull down is just ridiculous. There's no actual hypertrophic benefit to doing it that way versus the front, but it does potentially compromise the shoulders, so there's no reason to do it. Another big one, Smith machine squats. And I know people are going to say, Jason, Dr. Mike does Smith machine squats. Dr. Mike is the only expert in the world I know who does this exercise and endorses it. I think they're silly. I think they're stupid. I think they're high risk. Learn how to squat, guys. Learn how to squat with a barbell. The whole Smith machine thing isn't particularly good. And people will say, well, it might work your quads or whatever in a slightly different way. Well, there's a lot of exercise variations you have to do these things. We have a lot of tools at our disposal. We don't need to do the Smith machine. Now, he also said, and this is probably because he invested and bought a Smith machine a while back, which I kind of gave him a hard time for, that, well, the Smith machine does get a bad rap. I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. I do. I generally am opposed to the Smith machine. I don't think it's useful. I don't think it's good. I would personally like to see them removed from gyms in general. I think they do more harm than good. Another big one, though, the box jumps. And that's going to be funny because everyone's like, Jason, didn't you recently start adding in box jumps into your training? Yeah, I did because I need them. So let's come over to that. Are box jumps something the average person should be programming for themselves? No. And the reason is people who are just jumping onto boxes who are doing it as a challenge, like you're trying to build to a max box jump, the highest box you can jump to. That's not jump training. We use box jump training to train speed strength, to train explosiveness, right? If you are going to the highest possible thing that you can get to or doing it to fatigue, that's not appropriate training. What we're looking for is a consistent training with an appropriate training volume of explosiveness, just like we would do speed squats, right? We do box jumps for very similar reasons that we do speed squats. And our rep ranges are pretty similar, and I'll give you guys an example. When I do box jumps right now, I jump onto a 24-inch box, right? Could I get to my 30? Probably. I don't care about it right now. It's not necessary for my goals. I could jump to the 24 and eventually I could add weight and work with that. You shouldn't do it for conditioning work. Box jumps are not conditioning. That's how people get hurt. They shouldn't be, hey, I want to test and see the highest I can jump. Look, go get on a Vertimax. If you want to test your vertical, go use a Vertimax. All right, there's a tool for that. You don't need to be trying to jump onto a box because it doesn't even measure your vertical anyways because there's forward travel involved. You're not getting necessarily a training effect. You're just testing your hip mobility. Jumping to a box is an absolutely valid way to train. But like everything else, you need to stay within the parameters of what you're doing for a training response. So in my case, I do 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps. Okay, that's box jumps for me. You're like, wow, that's not much. It doesn't need to be. I'm using it to train explosiveness, to train speed strength, to help with my squatting. Right? I want a more explosive squat. Therefore, I use box jumps, but I also do speed squatting. I do speed pulls. I do a lot of dynamic work. It's just part of my overall dynamic training. And so I just do box jumps. And I don't jump back down off of the floor. You need to have the box set at an appropriate height to where it's probably lower than you can jump to, so that when you jump up, you're not risking missing the box. You're not risking missing the box and falling and hitting your face. And you stay within your abilities, and you instead focus upon quality reps. Quality reps inside your program parameters, which means you don't go over 5. Because why would you ever do more than 5 reps? And in many cases, 3 when you're training for speed or explosiveness. You don't. You shouldn't. Not a good idea. Same thing, you don't use it for conditioning work. That's how people get hurt on it. When they try to do it as a test of their jumping height, so what's the highest I can jump, or they do it for conditioning work, aka a lot of CrossFitters, that's where you run into problems. And then we come over to one of the other ones you mentioned, speaking of that, kipping pull-up. Kipping pull-up is completely useless. I've actually heard people who are in those circles discuss why they do it, and it literally doesn't make any sense. And I'm saying that as someone who cares about performance first. So I'm not even always concerned with hypertrophy and maximum jactitude. Although those things matter, I'm not always concerned with those things. Even from either a conditioning perspective or a strength perspective or performance perspective, the kipping pull-up is just stupid. It's stupid. It's pointless. Get in and just do normal pull-ups. There's other things you can do for conditioning that are better. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.